Hi, this is Mary, your holistic recovery coach, with your intuitive guidance for the week of November 8th to November 14th, 2021. These readings are intended for whomever lands on the video, all of my subscribers, and anyone in the recovery communities in particular, or healing from something, or just seeking to grow spiritually and live your best life. This week, we're using a new deck, the Enchanted Map Oracle cards by Colette Barron-Reed. So I'll put those details up on the screen. Already had one card jump out. Gonna spread them out. Okay, so we already had one card jump out, Spirit of Place. I'll put that up on the screen. And we're gonna pick two more. Moonlight and Into the Unknown. This is a very interesting looking reading. So I'm going to put all three cards up for you so you can see them together. Okay, so with the first card, the Spirit of Place. This card is really about power and authenticity, that the true essence of our power lies in authenticity, but it's also about perspective and seeing the overarching nature or the essence of a problem or a pattern going on. What comes to mind is getting to the deeper truth of a situation. And it's also about speaking your truth. So being able to see the patterns, distinguish what's true from what's false, what's really underlying things, what's the pattern beneath things, and then to speak the truth to yourself and then to the world. So it's interesting, this card reminds me of the fifth step. Last week, one of the cards or part of the reading reminded me of the fourth step for those of you in 12-step recovery or familiar with it. So the fourth step being, taking a personal inventory and looking at fears and things that are underlying patterns that are motivating our behaviors and actually creating a self-defeating, self-fulfilling prophecy and not really serving us. So you could actually think of the Spirit of Place card being about having done some of that work on yourself, the written work, and separated out what's real, what's not, what's yours, what's not yours, what's authentically you and what you want to keep, and what you want to shed that hasn't been serving you. And then being able to trust your intuition and to see those overarching themes that have been affecting you. And that it's only when you can see the whole picture of things to really know the true essence of yourself and where your true treasures lie. Because it's not about seeing all your, character defects or these defenses or parts of you that don't serve you. It's also about clearing those, seeing them for what they are, being able to shift and change as a result, and clear those and reveal what's left is really your assets and more space for your assets to develop and grow further so you can really flourish. And that brings us to the Moonlight card next. It makes sense to me that the Moonlight card comes next, because if we follow that process of step work as an example, once you've revealed those patterns with yourself and you're seeing more clearly, then you can start to trust your intuition to guide you more, because you're no longer operating with these blinders where you couldn't see the self-defeating patterns that were behind a lot of your behaviors. Moonlight also reminds me of being able to see in the dark. There's an owl on the card, and that's one of obviously their main assets, right? Being able to see clearly in the dark. And obviously, owls are associated with wisdom. So the wisdom that you've gained from this process of self-introspection, ideally sharing it with someone else, helping you to see the patterns and to make changes accordingly, then you're beginning to develop this new wisdom to move forward, learning from what you've just evaluated. And this card also reminds us to actually not overanalyze. So I'm reminded of the recovery concept, utilize, don't analyze. So utilize what you've just learned in the process that you engaged in. And for those of you who haven't yet, it's okay. This is just a reminder. This is perhaps just some gentle guidance and information to help, assure you that when you're ready and you do that type of inner work, that it's going to yield this type of wisdom and new assets and to give you hope in that process. And for those of you who have done it before, perhaps a fresh inventory, a new look at where you are in life and your relationships and any old fears that might be creeping up. The Moonlight card is about illuminating. So you've illuminated what's true and what's false, going back to the first card. Okay, so now you can embrace your authentic self, your assets. You can be aware, see better in the dark, see where your old patterns might arise so you don't get tripped up as easily, as quickly. And you won't have to get tripped up in the details as much because you've done that type of process, identified those patterns, so you can just utilize what you learned from that instead of overanalyzing things going forward. And that's where you're able to now trust your intuition more. And that's really what this card is about, trusting your intuition. So be open to signs and symbols. That's how our intuition sometimes is guided. So follow the signs, follow your own hunches. And finally, we have the Into the Unknown card. So take a look at that one. So with this Into the Unknown card, you can see that she's blindfolded, she's holding her hands up, she can't see, and we can't see where she's headed. We can see what's behind her, but not what's in front of her. But know that she's safe, right? She's not headed towards that balcony. She's not headed to fall over the balcony. She's walking away from it. She's walking inside somewhere. This card reminds us that whatever's going on, to trust that you'll be safe. And it's about encountering new situations, new opportunities. It's kind of the adventure of life. And the overarching theme off this card is about trust. And I'm reminded of, when you did a trust fall or a trust walk, if you ever did that in school or with a workplace or something, as a team building process. So think about this one as, trusting your higher power, again, trusting your intuition from the card before, trusting yourself now, being able to trust yourself better going into new situations. But the warning or the flip side of this card is about not being overly confident. So it's also a warning that you may be encountering new situations that you've never encountered before. You might be doing something you've never done before. And to not be cocky, not be overconfident, to go in with your eyes wide open, being vigilant in ways that you need to, while also trusting that, wonders and miracles will continue to occur for you, staying on this path. And so I'm reminded with this card, especially for those of you who are newly sober, new in recovery, or having just started healing from something. When you're newly sober, if you're in your first year of not drinking, drugging, or using whatever you were addicted to or dependent on, suddenly it feels like you're doing everything for the first time, because essentially you're doing it for the first time, living now more as your authentic self, allowing your intuition to guide you some, not relying on some synthetic, some false truth to guide you, or to, keep you safe, which of course it never really did. And so it can be scary stepping into the unknown, stepping into these new experiences. Maybe you're experiencing certain holidays for the first time. Maybe you're going back to work or starting a new job for the first time, a new relationship, whatever it is, something new that you haven't done as the new you yet. Again, this is a reminder that you are safe, you can trust, but to also keep your eyes wide open, to remain vigilant, be alert, putting it all together, remembering to utilize the tools that have been given to you, the information and wisdom that's been revealed. And of course, to be humble though, knowing when you enter new situations that you haven't been in before, that you might not have all the answers, that there may be factors that are beyond your control, of course. Like for me, planes keep going over, and I keep pausing what I'm saying. And for those of you who have not done that type of work that I alluded to last week and this week about the inventory and revealing your patterns and clearing up what's true, what's false, where you've been operating from fear, what are your real assets, and what do you need to work on letting go of, then definitely if you're going into the unknown and facing new circumstances, you don't yet have that wisdom, the wisdom of experience. It's like you can read books. I can read books on all sorts of things, even what people have been through, let's say in sobriety. But until I went through it myself, I wouldn't really have the wisdom which comes from having gone through the experience, walking through it, knowing what it feels like and what worked, what didn't work. So if you're going into some new situations, and you just be aware if you do not have the wisdom of experience in these situations. Go in with your eyes wide open, with a sense of humility but trust. And if you've done the work, you can rely on your intuition a lot more and be aware of those overarching themes like we talked about in the first card, putting it all together. And no matter what, you'll be bringing the more authentic version of you, your authentic self, into the unknown. And you can trust that that's the best way to approach these new situations and opportunities that present themselves to you. And then just in general, the energy of November could be a little bumpy for some of us. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of different energies at play. This reading overall is reminding me to remind us all to trust our intuition, to value ourselves and others, to listen more than speak, or at least to slow down before we respond, to keep communication clear, because there can be some misunderstanding in message sent being message received in our communications with others this week, perhaps. And I'm guided to say the most important conversations we'll have is actually with our higher power, our inner self, in meditation, and in the center card with Moonlight, reminding us to rely on our intuition. And to do that, we need to quiet our minds to listen. And when we're meditating or practicing mindfulness and different things that help us stay calm, we're also more clear and our senses more attuned to the world and to the spirit of place, if you will. And as we walk into the unknown, we can trust our senses to guide us better as well. So make sure you meditate if you're a meditator. If you're not, do whatever you can to access that calmer place within yourself, and intend to bring your authentic self forward in all you do and say, and in whatever new opportunities and situations present themselves to you this week and going forward. So that was an interesting one this week. These cards are gorgeous. Check out this deck if you haven't and you like working with cards yourself. It is one tool you can use just for accessing your own intuition and communicating with your higher power if you choose to do it that way. It's just a tool. And lastly, we are, of course, in the season of change, at least depending on where you are in the world. But where I am, we're right in the height of it in autumn, which reminds me of the beauty of change. We don't always have to resist change. It's going to happen no matter what. But when we engage in the process and we embrace the process, then we get to kind of be more empowered in the process of change and enjoy it, perhaps. So the change within yourself, the change within the environment, new opportunities presenting themselves. Let's try to be excited about it, eyes wide open, trusting, and using our intuition and our tools to guide us. Thanks for giving this video a like. Please subscribe if you haven't, and check out my more practical videos where I talk about things like recovery concepts. I'll see you next week with more intuitive guidance for sobriety, recovery, healing, or just personal or spiritual growth. Have a great week ahead.